Trudy, do you have something to add?
Yes, on the minutes.
Go ahead.
There is incorrect. I did not comment that a bus driver pulled out in the street. I commented that a bus driver pulled out into the street where he should have been stopped from the bus stop that was at a red light. There's a whole big difference. I complain when somebody doesn't wait for me as I'm screaming. And it says, Trudy Mason commented that a bus driver recently pulled out in the street at a stop she was approaching. It's at a stop which was at a red light. The stop was at the red light. And I have complained about this before. I would like that corrected because otherwise it looks like I'm a prima donna. Just doesn't, we don't want the buses.
Did you hear Trudy?
Yeah, she wanted to say the stop was at a red light.
And please note, when you're correcting it, that I am again stating, it happens now, they had put out a GO about that if the bus stop is at the corner where there is a traffic signal and the signal is red, they are supposed to stay in the bus stop. It is now happening with alarming regularity.
Did you, I'm sorry, I was not here last month, as you
Yes.
know. Did you give the folks here the stop and the bus route?
Yeah, I did,
Okay.
but it doesn't matter because it happens all over. And then somebody said, oh, but somebody else here said it happens on the west side too. I said, I can't
course
comment
it
on
does.
that, but I can tell you that it happens, and I will say it again. If you want the stops, it's almost every stop along 3rd Avenue and along Lexington Avenue.
Did this happen on 3rd Avenue?
This happened, this particular one. But since then, since last meeting, it has happened 4 times. You want the exact locations?
This seems like a question that should be obvious, but did you get the vehicle number at the time?
No, because I don't bother anymore, because it happens constantly.
You should bother.
Well, I am telling you, fine, I will get the vehicle numbers.
Because we
when
can get action.
When I call it in, and it's written down, nothing is ever done. So that's why I requested the meeting. But I will just say that I can give you, in the last week, it has happened 3 times, okay? On 3rd Avenue. 2 of them at 3rd Avenue and 67th, 68th, whatever, on that corner.
For instance, if it's one bus operator that's habitually
No,
doing
it
this?
is not. You are not listening to me.
I am listening to you.
Okay, I am
My
saying
point
that
is,
it is not one bus operator habitually. Last week, it happened at different hours of the night and day on different bus drivers. It happens constantly,
Get
and I'm
me-
not the only one that it happens.
get us the details, we will get a missive put out to all of us operators, okay?
No, but it's nice, and at the last meeting it did, I want to bring this up, and that's why I am reiterating my request for a formal meeting, which was supposed to happen 4 months ago. It has still not happened, okay?
They were all a little
I did push
busy.
it because I was otherwise involved in a small presidential campaign. But
Okay.
now I'm back, and I'm roaring, okay?
I hear that. I hear that.
Okay, and the reason that I arrived late, I might as well also say, is something else that happens habitually, and I did bring it up, okay?
We didn't ask why you were late.
Well, I am telling you because it is a matter that comes up, that happens at 42nd Street, when you take the number 6, and the number 6 is running irregularly. At the 77th Street station, there was on the, what do you call it, the time clock, the countdown clock. I just missed a train. The next train was coming in 7 minutes. It didn't come until, then it changed to 9. And then it's had 7, 8, 9. Three number 6 trains in a row after a 7-minute hiatus. It didn't come for 9 minutes, I timed it. But then at 42nd Street, where I have to change to get down here, the train I was on pulled in. A lot of people got off to go to the 4 or the 5 across the platform. Then, as the train is pulling out, the station announcement says, the number 6 train on, now leaving, is going to only make express stops. Didn't say, well, everybody was on the train. Then, almost following that, another train pulls in. That one, everybody is running over to until the announcement says, this train will make only local stops. There is no coordination, there are no announcements being made, and I also want to know why there is this irregular, Ellen, you're shaking your head like you know about it, this irregular spacing of trains, especially on the number 6.
The fact that you had an ever-increasing number on the countdown clock, and then there were 3 right in close proximity. Tells me there was a problem on that one train, either a sick
Well, I
passenger or...
don't know, because the other train,
Police
it
accident?
was a 7-minute wait, and then boom, boom, boom.
Are you registered to get the messages for the number 6 line?
No, I am not.
If you were, you would know what
Well,
caused
then
that.
maybe you can tell me how I register to get messages.
Absolutely, I will tell
Or
you,
can
but I don't want to
send
take
it
much
to me,
time.
or you can
I'll send you an
me
email how to do that.
Thank you.
You would really,
Okay.
I
But
get so
am
many of
saying
these
this-
things, and it
this
tells you
goes-
why.
This goes on, but it's not why, it's that, both things that I'm
This
bringing
tells
up
me
today happen constantly.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to move on. We have a lot to talk about, if you don't mind.
Yeah, but
Well,
I just,
But thank you for that report, Sue.
I would have had been here to correct the minutes, except that.
Let me go into the
Trains weren't
chair's
ready.
report, because we have a lot to do. Good to see everybody again. I'm sorry I was not able to be here last month, but from all reports, Bert did a great job. Obviously, everybody knows the W is back after a 6-year,
6.5-year hiatus.
yeah.
A line that should have never been eliminated in the first place.
We all
And you
know
all
why.
got interim maps?
Yes, you all have the maps at your place that shows the return of the W, the cutback of the Q, and well, I don't know, that map doesn't actually show it, but the R over overnight service has been finally extended where it should have been to Whitehall Street in the middle of the night. It certainly should have been extended to Atlantic Barclays a long time ago so that people would have had the transfer options. Ending in the 36th Street was just ridiculous, so this is a great addition. By the way, everybody knows why those terrible service cuts in 2010 took place, I hope, in case you don't.
Refreshing us.
The governor took money that was earmarked for the MTA and put it in the general fund, resulting in the worst service cuts in history. Okay.
It's a nightmare for updates still to be needed.
Well, yeah. In normal service, the W will operate between Whitehall Street and Astoria Ditmars, but while trains navigate between the Coney Island Yard to Whitehall, they will run in revenue service in Brooklyn, which was a great thing. It paves the way for 2nd Avenue to begin, hopefully by the end of the year, which will extend the queue from its current 57th Street and 7th Avenue terminus up to 96th and 2nd, which will really change people's travel patterns. When you can go on a 1-seat ride from the far Upper East Side to the West Side, I just see really pressure off the legs, pressure off some crosstown bus routes. I think it's going to be amazing.
Andrew,
Yes.
at the last meeting, I gave an up-to-date report. I was wondering at the board meeting, it was discussed because yesterday on the news reports in the Congresswoman's office had not heard of it, that it now looks like it may not be, well, there are 2 conflicting news reports.
There are.
So if you can, during your board report or now, bring us, since you're
I
making
will.
the 7th Avenue so
I definitely will.
because there are a lot of people who are now very upset since last week. It was one story, and now this week it seems to be another story.
I'll get into that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. 2 months ago, we reported the Pennsylvania Avenue 3-line station, which is served by four trains in the late night, had reopened after a major renovation. Unfortunately, the driver of a truck that struck the structure supporting that station on October 27th changed this good news story. The station was closed immediately because of the damage from the strike and will continue to be closed until at least late November. Free shuttle buses are providing service to Van Sickland Station while repairs are underway. You can't account for that kind of stuff. In preparation for work on the M line, which we all visited in August, and in response to growing rider demand, New York City Transit plans to increase weekday and weekend service on the L line. A copy of a letter outlining those changes has been provided, should be in your packets today. But to summarize, the service increases will add 11 round trips during weekdays, 12 round trips during Saturday mornings, and a total of 27 round trips on Sundays from morning to evening. I guess we can do that because the L line has CBTC. Starting in summer 2017, New York City Transit will demolish and rebuild the Myrtle Viaduct and the Atlantic, the bridge that we sort of climbed up an embankment to look at between Fresh Pond Road and Metropolitan Avenue. The Atlantic, New York and Atlantic, it says Atlantic. Anyway, when work on the Canarsie Tunnel begins in 2019, many L riders will use the J, M, and Z lines between Brooklyn and Manhattan.
Eastern Division.
And of course, you can use the A line as well. Last month, we sadly reported after 9 months with no bus fatalities, 2 individuals were killed as a result of being struck by MTA buses. Unfortunately, on November 3rd, New York City Transit suffered its first fatality resulting from a worker being struck by a train since 2013. Louis Gray, who had worked for the MTA for 15 years, was killed. His co-worker, 17-year MTA veteran Jeffrey Fleming, was seriously injured, and a third worker escaped injury. The men were involved in a flagging operation, setting up lights to warn operators of track work ahead. The National Transportation Safety Board is investigating the incident, and it appears, as a result, New York City Transit is limited in the public comments it can make. And as I recall, this happened between Fort Hamilton Parkway and Church Avenue on the F and G line. It appears, however, that in part, because of the limited sight distance in the curved section of track where the men were working, the workers did not have enough time to clear up into the trackside alcoves while the train passed. There have been many efforts to improve worker safety in the subways, but because of the nature of the 24-hour system, some work must inevitably be done while train traffic continues. As a result, maintenance of the tracks remains a dangerous job, and we appreciate the men and women who do this work that allow our system to function. We particularly hold in our thoughts the family of Mr. Gray and wish for the full recovery of Mr. Fleming, and as I heard at the last board meeting, Mr. Fleming is recovering very nicely. Please mark your calendars for our December 1st PCAC meeting, where we will hear Alan Zirkin, who was a professor at the NYU Wagner School, who was commissioned by the MTA to study and report on potential improvements in public engagement strategies for the authority. With the success of enhanced public engagement in relation to the L train tunnel reconstruction and growing dissatisfaction with the public hearing process for fare and service changes, which are coming, we have been pushing the MTA to provide a more informative and interactive form of engagement with its stockholders. Now let me give you a board report. This is a lot of stuff. Okay, so we touched on the new services that are coming. As far as 2nd Avenue, the chairman announced yesterday that the MTA will have to announce shortly, not yet, but shortly, when they plan to operate the opening. There is apparently some NYPD pressure to not open on New Year's Eve because of various things. This train will obviously serve Times Square directly. It might be a bit confusing to have to police all of the normal areas that they have to police and to open a brand new line. That being said, I did hear words to the effect that if it can open on the 31st, it could certainly be opened on the 30th. The last piece of it appears the escalator problem at 72nd Street has been largely resolved, and it is now the fire equipment in all of the new stations that is the sticking point. They are committing an enormous amount of overtime to get this open by the end of the year. And as far as yesterday's announcements, the chairman has said, we will let you know soon, but there is no definitive yes we can or no we can't as of this moment. And by the way, I did speak to Dr. H yesterday, and we will be getting a ride before the service opens to the general public. So keep that in mind. Trudy.
Yes, okay. The rumors going around now is that even if they do have an opening on the 31st so that Tom can fulfill his promise to Carolyn, that it's going to be a Bloomberg, as everybody calls it, a Bloomberg 7 opening. If you remember.
I do remember. I didn't go on it, but I remember it.
Yeah, and then it didn't run again for like 6 months, or there were so many troubles, there were so many problems. So if they're talking about, they must do it on the 31st because they promised, and then now they're blaming it on the NYPD who's saying they're not enough.
No, that's just for New Year's Eve.
No, I understand, but the reason doing it is because they promised the 31st. And there are a lot of people who are very concerned right now. And it looked like it was going to happen. That was the last conversation that Carolyn, I was there, we had with Tom, that everything was going okay, that the tests were going. Now all of a sudden it's that the tests are not going as well as they thought they would.
I
But the
think that
outside consultant, did you hear
the
their report?
consultant has raised a number of, about 2 or 3 red flags as to a timely opening. That being said, none of those things are impossible to fix. They have so many people out there working now. In fact, when I asked to get our special ride, I said, we don't want to impede the opening, obviously, but if you're running trains already, it would be. He says, not a problem, and
Those are test, I
Test
understand
trains,
that, but at the last press conference, which I reported on when you weren't here, and subsequent to that, Congresswoman Maloney has made it very clear that no matter what the promises are, that safety is the first consideration.
absolutely.
So if the consultant has some sticking points, first of all, do you know what they are, or was it reported to you?
It's the fire equipment in the 3 new stations. They have to have that operational for obvious reasons.
Their current schedule for fire alarm testing completion for 2 of the stations is December 15th. So
Which is-
if everything goes right, it can open.
You can-
And that is the
Something goes
consultant's
wrong.
only concern, I understood.
There were some escalator
There were some
concerns
other
which
issues, but-
appear to be resolved. Those are the 2 major things. Okay.
You'll keep us informed and.
Do you want me to continue, or do you want to just keep talking about Second Avenue?
No.
Did you finish? Because I want to.
I have one thing.
Let me just ask, Omar, is this about Second Avenue?
Yes, it is.
Okay, go ahead.
Jason and I have been saying for months that Second Avenue isn't really going to open by December because there's still some finishing touches they have to do. And Dr. H hasn't he's great, but like I said, he hasn't been fully transparent about all this updates and stuff. And we're getting really concerned because, like I said, this is a project made almost 90 years. It took 90 years to make this project.
But that being said, shouldn't it get done correctly and safely?
Yes.
Isn't that more important than a date that somebody arbitrarily
Exactly.
sets?
And that's why we're saying first quarter 2017. And so,
Omar, the Congresswoman is keeping on top of it, and I am keeping on top of it with her. That's why I brought up all these points of concern. She had a press conference 3 weeks ago where she gave, and I can send it, I think I did send it to everybody, but we can send it out again, where she gave an A, she does a scorecard. She gave an A, assuming that they were going to meet on schedule, but at the press conference, she said, if it is a matter of some safety concerns, safety is first rather than meeting the date.
all right.
So that's why I just
Agreed.
brought this up.
And just so you don't think it's all on the bad side, the MTA board yesterday approved some procurements which have to do with phase 2 of Second Avenue
Right.
already. So that is moving forward already.
All right.
So just so you know. Deborah?
Yes, in reference to Second Avenue, I appreciate you let me know extremely quick when it's going to really officially be open. Why?
As soon as I
2
know.
very old senior citizens who used to ride on the elevated Second Avenue line and are begging and pleading with me. One of them says, I'm staying alive purposely just for that. And I really would like to bring him back on there because we did bring him to the Second Avenue, and they were showing us how it was building. He was fascinated. So I really hope, because I'm telling you, I think this guy's holding on just for that.
I hear you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so as everybody probably is aware, there have been an inordinate number of pushings and/or suicides in the last 2 weeks on the subway system. In fact, speaking about those emails that we get for line specific, I get the West Side IRT and the C and the B, and as soon as I see, 3 an hour about 18th Street or Times Square, I knew due to police action, I knew it was something on the track. So there was a large discussion at the board about whether there should be platform doors. Some board members are pushing for platform doors. It was stated that there is an intrusion detection track system that they are testing. Because of my harebrained sense of humor. I said, is this going to detect rats as well as people? It'll obviously be calibrated so that it'll be a person's size and or weight. It will not be a piece of paper floating down the tracks or an animal on the tracks, but
And what does that do?
this will alert the, it will immediately alert any trains entering the station to brake because there's something on the tracks. The problem with platform doors, aside from the amazingly inordinate cost, and it's another thing that can go wrong, I don't know if you've ridden it on the air, I'm sure Sharon has because we've discussed it, but on the air train to JFK and the Docklands light rail in East London and in several other places, it takes a fair amount of time for the doors to line up before they actually then open. Thinking what that would do to throughput in rush hour is just,
Chaotic.
it's ridiculous.
What about curbs in stations?
Yeah, plus I can see people holding them. Then there's a possibility that there could be advertising on those, so it would be a way for the MTA to make money. I mean, like we aren't assaulted by advertising already.
Fitty.
Anyway, it's not happening anytime soon, but the issue of pushings, I mean, in the past 2 weeks, it's just been, I don't know if it's that supermoon we encountered or what, but it's really bad. And there have been a lot of,
Crowded.
well, I don't think
stations
people
get
are being
packed.
I think pushings are not due to, there's just some
You
people
just
with.
get angry and so you just
So
push.
push somebody off the track.
Because when we were at Railroad,
Terrible.
there was
Because
a
there's not
product
enough
there
something
that
to
looked
care.
interesting
They
because
keep
it's
you-
balustrades on the yellow strip. It just, I don't know, they go up 2 or 3 feet. But thinking, on those, Bradley's been reporting on 59th Street where you've got island platforms and people are totally standing on the edges of the platform.
Yes, they are.
And
Yeah.
the ability to push is that much greater, and thinking, in certain identified stations that have these crowding things,
People
these
standing just
balustrades
like
seem like it would at least keep people from standing so close to the edge.
You have them somewhere right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, I have.
59th on what line?
But they're not on there, I'm thinking, something like that, that's not the doors that make no sense. But if you have a line where the doors do align with the cars, not too many different car styles, it might be a simpler solution than the doors.
Solutions, I like that.
So I like that, that was good.
Solutions.
So, but I can send you, what these are, but
Yeah, I mean, one thing is,
the
even
crowding.
with the number of, people recently who have gone on the tracks, the number of people that have been hit by trains this year is pretty consistent with what happened last year. I think it's 6 under with a month and a half to go, and the number's somewhere under 50, so it's
I just wondered if
pretty much in line with it. And it pretty much is in line with it every year.
I think I heard something at the board that said there've been 44 incidents in the past 2
Right,
years
and
or
last year there
so.
was,
Yeah.
I know there was
the pushing,
44 and
yeah.
then
I
total,
mean,
last year
I'm
was
talking,
55.
total,
Yeah.
I think total fatalities.
I wonder, as the ridership keeps going and the capacity doesn't.
Ellen, I was wondering if this, what you call balustrade, is that similar to what we used to have all over the IRT until they started buying new subway cars after World War II?
I don't remember that then, but possibly. I didn't make 1942, but.
I used to remember you couldn't get off the IRT trains until you could open and lock the door.
What are they made of?
44 people died.
Steel.
Steel?
They were just
Sort of
pipe.
like DeBlasio.
It's at the
Yeah, it's like a pipe, yeah.
It's at the shuttle,
Maybe
it's at the
shuttle.
shuttle, I
They have
think.
one of the
Shuttle
shuttle
and
Shuttle.
The 42nd
Yeah,
Street
yeah,
shuttle has
yeah.
that.
Well, we're
Shuttle.
also that with subway.
It
Yeah, they've
has
got
it in
like
places.
a.
It has it in
They
places.
were at all the major stations on the west.
Yeah, railways instead of.
They weren't just a straight line of them,
The problem with that, and with the platform doors on the B division is that on some lines you have 3 different car types,
So that's where you've got a
4 in some
different
cases, and they won't
complexity
all line up in exactly the, and maybe when we all have brand new,
there. Yeah, that's the car design.
the car
But
design is,
you would certainly roll it out slowly, and we're thinking, well, in those areas, just there are hot spots for overcrowding on the platform, maybe we start trying it
Well,
out.
maybe we ought to be looking at why those are, is it because there's habitual delays there? Or is it because there's a traffic generator there, like
Can it
a
be
Grand
solved?
Central or a Times, yeah.
Can it be solved without that?
Yeah.
But once you figure that out, if it can't.
And some of this is people being too close to the edge of the platform. There have been car cards and campaigns to say, don't stand at the edge. There probably should be one saying, peering down the tunnel doesn't get the train there any faster. So in that regard, apparently the test of, if you've seen them on the Broadway BMT, the new countdown clocks for the B division is going really well. There's a 90% or greater accuracy on them, and I've watched them for a while, and I'm sure you have if you've ridden the NQR and lately the W.
Yeah.
They're really good. They're colorful. They even give you the weather. I mean, they're much better than the A division countdown clocks in that
So are they
regard.
gonna fix the A division countdown clocks also?
Yeah.
Are they going to fix the A division countdown clocks?
Well, the A divisions are very accurate because that relies on automatic train supervision. These rely on
They keep on changing
I don't-
their numbers.
what?
Bluetooth.
Yeah, this Bluetooth reception. But let me just say that they're now going to be expanded, and you're going to have these on by the end of, by the third quarter supposedly of 2017, all over the B division. So that's great news. So maybe less people will go to the edge of the platform and look down, although I
No,
don't know.
because they
if
don't,
will.
on the A division, they don't believe, and especially like the incident that happened this morning, that puts the countdown clocks and everything else totally useless.
Well, they can be fooled, as you saw. I've gone in a station where it says 12 minutes, and everybody goes, oh my God, and then 3 minutes later, it says 6 minutes. And then 2 minutes later, it says 2 minutes. So,
All of a sudden, it must be really pushing.
yeah, yeah.
Going to the time clock, the one thing it did not have, it didn't have the W train.
When I went, the W hadn't started yet.
No.
Now it doesn't?
On the 6th, when I was on the first W at 6:30 in the morning at Bay Parkway, thank Debbie, thank you to Debbie Homo letting me know. I was there, I have the video on YouTube. Because you did mention, Bill, whoever, I forgot, sorry, mentioned that, make sure you watch the time clocks. And I have watched
You mean the
it back.
countdown clock?
Either way, it had N, it had R, and there's one thing that Lexington one had differently than the 49th Street one. It still says Q train, and then when the W pulls in, it says the Q train's here, not
And some of the announcements aren't yet updated either.
No. When they make the announcement, like say there was a signal problem, someone had to handwrite it
Yeah.
on the screen, and
Yeah,
it just
no,
says
it's
the
not.
W. That was still funny,
I
but at
think the
least.
Bloomberg company is the company that updates all the automated announcements.
But the W train
That's
still
the
has
thing.
the old software, because when I was on the first W.
I know what you're going to say.
It said, no, but everyone was
It still
laughing.
showed the V.
Worse.
Yeah.
M train at Canal Street.
Yeah, it's the old, it has to be.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, Jason?
Regarding the W, I wrote the first one from Queens. I noted what Chris noticed. And on Sawyer Boulevard, instead of saying transfer to, it said connection to.
Oh,
And regarding the countdown clocks, along the storyline, I've been literally listening to countdown clock audio announcements along the storyline. And I've been seeing countdown clocks being installed in the crosstown line.
yeah, I've seen the provision for them on the G line I've seen them.
But still, the ones that they have in Broadway, although that we could see the announcement, but what if the person is blind? They cannot hear the announcement. So that is something that they have to fix.
The audio is not working?
The audio is not working at all, Andrew, since day one.
And where is this?
This is all, in all the stations that they have it on the Broadway line.
Okay, At the Broadway BMT?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll report that.
And by the way, Andrew, I have to report, during Tuesday's, let's say storm, I was at DeKalb Avenue on the BQ&R, and there was water dripping up from the ceiling on the R side platform.
And after 10:45 at night, the D.
Yep.
And early
So
Yeah.
I reported on Twitter, and they didn't respond to me onto the very next day. This was Tuesday. I went Wednesday, and the problem was still there.
All right,
I know what he's talking about. He's talking like it's near the front of the Manhattan platform. It was mentioned 2 months ago. I mentioned to you, Bill. It was on the R train side. It was coming down because somebody already reported it in, and they had a sign that says wet floors.
the next thing to report is obviously the new fares that are, the two options that are being proposed for March 19th of 2017. The board is actually, because of the election and several other things, the board is not actually going to vote on the new fare proposals until January. It has to vote on the budget in the December meeting. The fare hearings are being held the first 2 weeks of December. When we discuss this, we will discuss the testimony at the fare hearings and who might want to go where. So I'll defer that to when we actually get to the discussion on the fares. Let me just give you some really, I think, really good news. During this rather extensive discussion yesterday at the board on the various fare options, the Chief Financial Officer and Frederica Cuenca, who was putting all of these things together, also gave a list of fare options that are not going to be considered at this moment in time, and in addition to the so-called social fare, the reduced fare for college students, there was the freedom ticket, which we have been pushing. And I am very gratified that at least 5 board members spoke favorably about the freedom ticket. The chairman made it clear that while it might not be happening right now, it is something they are interested in. The chief financial officer even said it is not a matter of dollars. We don't think this would be really extra costly. We think it could in fact end up paying for itself with additional ups. Well, yeah, he acknowledged that a lot of folks might change from their typical monthly MetroCard to the new improved Freedom MetroCard, whether it's a weekly or monthly. The chairman, Mr. Prendergast, did say that he thought there might be an operational problem in that Amtrak, in addition to the problems on the Hudson River tubes, which we know are legendary and which have to be fixed real sooner rather than later, they will be also dealing with the East River tunnels. Obviously, there's more of them than our Hudson River tunnels. There's 4 of those compared to 2, but one will have to come out at a time, and there is a possibility of diminished Long Island Railroad service during the times that one of those East River tubes is out. That being the case, they are a little wary of putting extra people on Long Island Railroad trains, which they know would occur with Freedom Ticket. Certainly from Southeast Queens, that would definitely occur. And interestingly, Chuck Merdler, a board member, was very interested in Freedom Ticket for the Bronx. He always raises